Tell us about your injuries.
Well, thank you very much. I just got out of surgery where they were unable to save my right hand index finger, and they tried very hard to save my left hand finger. And we're going to wait to see how that goes. But both of those were blown away by the gunshots, the rifle shot from the terrorists who entered our synagogue just as we were getting ready for a memorial service on the last day of Passover. And
as you said,
this was so horrific. I mean, I met the terrorist face to face, eye to eye, our eyes locked, and he aimed at me, and miraculously I was able to just survive losing my fingers, but still alive here to say today. Sadly, my colleague, my longtime member, Mrs. Marie Kay, that was standing with me in the lobby, did not survive. She was shot point blank.
And Lori was killed while trying to protect you. It is unfathomable what that moment was like. And I wonder how much of it you remember. Can you tell us what you saw in that horrific moment?
It's impossible to recall, to understand what happened. It happened all so quickly. And it was just both of us. Lori and I have known each other for over 25 years. She was one of the pioneering members of our congregation. She's not just a member, she's an activist. She personified the ultimate of kindness and generosity. She's one of those people who are always there to be able to help others when they're in time of need. When people are diagnosed with cancer, she would be driving them to their appointments. She would bring flowers to cheer people up. She would bake Shabbat challah just to bring a family some happiness. She was the ultimate woman of kindness. And it's unfathomable why this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful human being would be shot down. Her mother just recently died, and she came to services to be able to memorialize her mother. And her daughter drove down from UCLA. She has an only daughter, Hannah, and she came down to be able to be with her mother as she's doing the memorial service. So she was there to witness and to be there as her mother is laying on the floor dying. It was just unfathomable, undescribable terror, horrific disaster on all measures. And this has to stop. This has to stop. You know, the Constitution of the United States guarantees freedom of religion for all faith. You know, we are so lucky and fortunate to live here in a country that protects our rights to live as proud Jews. You know, we're still recovering from the Holocaust, and we found a haven to live as free people, and yet we're being mowed down like animals, just like we were in Nazi Germany. And this has to stop. But you know what? We're not going to be intimidated or deterred. Terror will not win. And as Americans, we can't and won't cower in the face of this senseless hate of what's called anti-Semitism. The reality is that we have to learn from every event that occurs and grow from it. Every step back can and must become a giant step forward. You know, after recovering from surgery, so much thoughts have been running through my mind, trying to figure out what sense can I make out of this? Why was my life spared? And I was centimeters away from being shot point blank. And I got away with losing my index finger that will be a scar forever. But that scar is going to remind me that how vulnerable we are, but yet how heroic each one of us can be to stand up, to fight against terror. You know, this event that happened at my show, I have been there for 35 years. I started this synagogue. I started this building when I was just a 22-year-old young man who was sent on a mission by Rabbi Schneerson, the Grand Chabad Rebbe, to establish a Jewish community center in Poway. And I worked sweat and tears for 35 long years building a beautiful community center that houses a synagogue, a preschool, and a friendship circle, an organization for special needs children. My wife and I, our whole life was about what can we do for the community. For us to have this happen to us in 2019 is unfathomable. So the reality is that this has to raise an alarm and concern for the safety of all places of worship. And our government needs to continue to step up and help properly secure them. I pray, and I continue to sob and cry throughout the whole day. I'm praying for the healing during this time, for the pain and grief. And I ask the world to do something to add more light to combat evil darkness. A little bit of light pushes away a lot of darkness. We need a lot of light now. And this coming Saturday, I personally feel I want to appeal to all the Jewish people to make an effort to attend synagogue. We need to fill up those rooms, not run away from synagogue, but on the contrary, let's fill up the synagogues. Let us show these terrorists, let us show these evil, wicked people that they will not do anything to hinder us from being proud Jews and for being proud people walking in the freedom of America. We need to really outdo the darkness with as much light as possible.
It breaks my heart hearing you talk about Lori. May her memory be a blessing. But it also strengthens my heart hearing you talk about wanting to fill up our houses of worship across this country. Do you know anything more about the other two congregants who were injured yesterday? Do we know about their status?
Yes. Well, there's one former Israeli soldier, Mr. Almog, and he risked his life helping me gather the children in the banquet hall as he got shot in his leg. And thank God he was discharged from the hospital. Another Israeli veteran whose daughter got some shrapnel in her leg and close to her eye. And thank God she too has been treated and discharged.
And your message to your congregation now, I think you're sharing it with us as we speak, about not letting terror win. Do you know when you'll be able to see any of them? Do we know how long you'll be having to be in the hospital recovering?
Well, I'm pushing myself and the doctors to get me out of here as soon as possible. I have a message. I have lived through this horror for a reason. And we have been taught anything that you see and hear in life, you need to take a lesson and do something with it. And I want to take my message to as many people as possible. Missing a finger is just a finger. But God didn't want me to die yesterday. God wants me to continue on being his emissary and to be a partner. And you know what? We are all created in the image of God. We all have a mission in this world. We are all partners with God in creation. And we all need to just take this darkness and do some random acts of kindness. And it's going to tilt the scale in our favor 100%.
Listening to you right now, you must be in pain having lost part of your hand. And yet I hear incredible resolve in your voice.
Well, that's because I'm from Brooklyn.
From Brooklyn.
You know, I grew up with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe suffered a lot of pain in his life, and he taught us to always turn that pain into something positive, and that's what I got to do. You have no idea what it's like. I got both of my hands wrapped up. I can't even drink a cup of water. I'm in excruciating pain out of surgery, but the pain doesn't pale towards what I can do to help another person. What can I do to inspire others who have been in such dark spaces as well? And hopefully I could accomplish that.
And we're hearing these stories about the heroes who led people to safety out of the synagogue nearly 24 hours ago at this point. What can you tell us about the off-duty Border Patrol officer? He's one of the many people who's been mentioned as playing a key role when this all happened.
I mean, it's incredible. This is a young man who travels close to 3 hours. He lives in El Centro, which is 3 hours away from us. And when there's a holiday, he travels 3.5 hours to pray with us. And so much. He recently discovered his Judaism and his Jewish heritage, and he wanted to know more about it. And he's an exceedingly kind, friendly person. And I've spoken to him in the past about coming to the synagogue armed because he's trained, and I want trained security as much as possible. Unfortunately, we couldn't afford to have a armed security officer at every service. So whenever we had extra help, we were grateful for it. You know, truth to be told, if we had an armed security guard at the front door, I think he would have been neutralized right away. But sadly, synagogues live on very thin budgets, and we just don't have those funding. And if there's any way that perhaps the government could step up and help us fund these type of security, we can minimize these senseless death and horror events.
Rabbi, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and speaking with us after an unspeakable crime.
The community has put together a GoFundMe page to help Chabad Poway. So if there's any way people can assist us through these very difficult times, so we can help the victims, we can help pay for funeral charges, fees, and just help us through this very difficult time, it would be so grateful.